Producers have a problem with thinking just because you made a beat for artists, you have a song with the artist.
Right.
No, you have a placement. You don't have the song. Your name doesn't have the same weight as the artist. I'm sorry. You don't invest no money into the song like the artist. You don't do as much as the artist. All you do is make the sound. And when you make that sound, you can get that same sound to 10 different niggas. They don't make the song that this artist made. Yes, you make a good beat. Yes. But you can give this beat to 10 people. They're not going to make the same song. This is another thing with producers too. They tend to do shit like, oh, I'm gonna send you a beat, and then you drop the song, and now there's 5 fucking producers that made the loop. This person made a tick, and this person made. Yeah, bro, don't send me no fucking beat. You had a group fucking project, bro. Like, this is not a school project. Like,
well, that was weird as fuck. I've addressed the 5 producers on one beat thing before, and I think it is problematic, but I'm not even mad at this whole video because it's so asinine, it's so illogical that I can't take it seriously enough to fathom the energy that anger requires. You don't have to be a musician to see the logical flaw. It's glaringly obvious. If beats don't make songs, why do rappers need beats in order to write songs? If producers are lesser parts of the song than the recording artists are, why do rappers write songs to beats 99% of the time and not the other way around? If you are a musician, you know damn well beats aren't just replaceable. And producers know why we send the same beat to 10 different people, because out of those 10 different people, 10 of them probably will never reply to you any damn way. But take any beat out of any song I've ever produced and replace it with another beat. It's gonna sound like hell because the tempo, rhythm, the mood, the key, the chord progression, the melody, the harmony, the composition, the sequencing, the dynamics, they will all be different and wrong for that song. Why? Because the artist wrote their song to my beat, which makes me a part of the song and its creation process. When I produced Money for Ludacris and Rick Ross, why did Def Jam send me Rick Ross a cappella and say produce around this if the beat didn't matter? Why, when I was working with Gold Haze, creating the final version of the Pooh Shiesty Switch It Up record, which is a hit song on its own off of a platinum album, why did the label reject the first 12 versions that we sent them? If the beat didn't matter, we could have just delivered any old beat and the end result would have been the same. Any old beat would have gone gold, right? And if the beat didn't matter, there would have been no fan backlash when the beat switched up when the final version was released. If beats don't matter, take a classic like The Diplomat's Oh Boy. Put any beat under it. Put any beat under Jay-Z's Song Cry, or Hard Knock Life for that matter. Put a smooth lo-fi beat under Not Like Us. It'll have the same effect because the songwriting is the same. Beats don't matter, right? And finally, producers, when rappers reach out to us and we ask them, hey, what kind of beats do you want us to send you? Why do they always ask us to send them hits, smashes, bangers, undeniable beats, classics that inspire them to write their next hit song? If the beats don't matter to the songwriting process, and if they don't contribute equally to the song, then why aren't rappers just picking beats from anybody? Why don't they just make beats themselves? Why doesn't the neighbor, why don't they teach their kids to make beats? It doesn't matter, right? All right, enough of this nonsense. What's really interesting, more interesting than this, is what PRE rapper Key Glock said recently about beat selection, which I thought was different. It was unexpected. I think you'll like this conversation if you're a producer. I brought it up on the podcast. The link to the full podcast episodes and the new podcast channel is in the description. As always, if you want to distribute your beats or your songs, whatever you have, for free for 3 months, go to tolost.com, use the code MEC. The link to that is also below as well. Curious to hear your reaction to either the first video where the rapper was saying that beats don't matter and the Key Glock video, because I think they're both interesting. The first one's kind of boring because I've heard it a million times, but what Key Glock was saying about his writing process is just, it brings up a lot of thoughts for producers to consider and for artists to consider as well.
When I'm in the studio and I'm going through beats, I ask my homeboys, y'all like this beat? You like this beat? The beats that they don't like, they'll be the first ones I record on. And I make them, they'll love the song because after I get off of it, the beat sounds nothing like they heard it before without words on it. Like, my words are extra instruments and shit in the beat. You get what I'm saying?
So do you see that like as a challenge to make them like it, or what is it?
I love it because they don't like it.
My first question to you, do you really think he intentionally picks beats that other people dislike?
I could see it.
So when I hear that, just kind of listening as a manager, I'm like, yeah, I'm not working with that cat. Everything you suggest, he gonna, you say right, he say left, you say blue, he say red. Like, nah. I I like the mindset in terms of like accepting the challenge and like, valuing your lyrics to enough to be able to transform a song so that people aren't even recognizing the beat that they thought they didn't like, but now they like the complete song. But if he does that, and hopefully he doesn't do that all the time, and hopefully he likes the beat and he's not just, you know, accepting the beat because nobody in the room liked it. Hopefully he liked the beat. I would assume.
Well, I mean, I think there's also something that ties this conversation into the Danny Brown conversation. Because if the people around him are the 50 Cents, right, and they're like, you got to go in this direction, and he's the Danny Brown, he's like, no, I want to go in a different direction because he knows that they're on different stylistic, aesthetic trajectories. Then it would make sense for him to ask the advice of someone who he doesn't think is on the same page as him, and then he does the opposite so that he can always stay, I guess, ahead of the curve. Because that's a lot of people. As a producer, I'm watching this and I have a lot of questions, and a lot of people will ask for, I've told this story before, they'll ask for experimental beats all the time. I want something different, I want something different. And then when the project actually comes out, after you've sent them different beats and they've rejected every single one, then you hear the project and you're like, none of this is different, this sounds like everything else. So that's always a frustrating dynamic. But
Hey,
my dad doesn't care that I'm recording a podcast. We are in a weird era, and we do cover a lot of anti-producer content. We're recording artists and songwriters and labels and executives make claims that we're lesser contributors to the song creation process, and that we're replaceable, or we're untalented, we're undeserving as the same rights as vocal performers. But in the real world and behind closed doors like this, I think a lot of artists are, and not great artists, because Key Glock isn't saying this, but a lot of artists are leaning on producers for hits. And you don't hear rappers or singers say to producers, hey, let me hear a mediocre beat. It's always, I need a hit. Send me an undeniable banger. Send me something no one's ever heard before. I had to block someone the other day because they were trying to buy beats from me. And I sent him a bunch of beats because he said he liked one of my beats. And he said, send some similar beats. And then he started talking about how bad the beats were. He's like, I don't want to pay for this. This is terrible. These beats are horrible. And I just blocked him because he was like, I need a real hit. I need this and that. And the references that he sent me that he recorded sounded terrible. So I'm like, you're not even qualified to speak on what's a hit or not. And then he starts questioning, so you were on Shiesty Season. I was like, yes, I was. And you weren't. So I don't know what you want me to say right now. And it's like, so you want the beat to be a hit.
So using Aaron's analogy, you basically sent him.
I was just about to say.
I sent him bags of fertilizer, but the man did not have a garden. So he would have preferred the gummy bears, I guess, with the red dye in them. It's like people want the beat to be a hit, right? Or do you want the beat to be 50% of the hit? You see what I'm saying? And what Key Glock was saying was he sees his voice as part of the song in terms of it being an instrument. Just like, my beat is the instrumental. They have to complement each other. So when we cover these stories in which recording artists are cutting producers out of their equity, or like Diane Warren's cutting Tank out of equity because all he did was play the bass line and the drums and the keys, this speaks to that, because in a lot of instances, we as producers are expected to make the beat a hit before the rapper even writes a single word. And you're like, that's not how that works. And once the song is done, and let's say the song becomes successful, now we're suddenly told, well, you weren't that important. I could have done that to any beat. It's just the lyrics. Any beat can become a hit with the right lyrics. I feel like engineers and songwriters and videographers, and I guess graphic designers, are the most disrespected creators in the music industry, but producers are the most gaslit. Because one thing they can't do to a songwriter is say, oh, well, you didn't do anything, because they wrote the song. But they'll say that to a producer, and they'll even tell us, well, you're not part of the songwriting process, but we wrote the instrumental that without, you couldn't have written the song. Are you kidding me? So it's just the gaslighting. That's what's, I think, really frustrating, because if people just came right out and said, like, look, I want a beat that carries me. Okay, cool. Well, then let's work on the hook together. You're lazy as shit and you're afraid that your creativity isn't enough. Cool. But it's always send me a hit. Oh, this beat isn't a hit. This beat isn't a hit. And then they get the beat that's a hit, and suddenly I'm not a part of it because all I did was make the beat.
I just, just kind of still kind of looking at it through the lens of management. It's like, what's the goal, right? Like, is your goal to prove people wrong, or is it to make the best music possible, right? Because he doesn't have a team to accomplish the latter. Right? It seems like he's just in there to prove everybody in the room wrong, and that's fine if that's what he wants to do, but there's no way I would ever be a part of a team. Like, once I saw that, I'd be like, oh yeah, there's no reason for me to be in the room, because as soon as I suggest something, he's gonna be like, nah, to do it this way. And now his goal is to just prove you wrong, as opposed to, making a great impact, making the best music possible. Yeah, not that he's asking me to manage him, but that would be a super duper red flag. I'm like, I'm out.
But you've managed artists who have just pretty much been motivated by trying to prove other people wrong before, and they were successful doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, so I learned from that experience. I mean, I talked about it, when I tell the Funk Volume story sometimes. Like, one of the biggest mistakes I made was, like, immediately they coined me as the business guy, and in the very beginning, that's what I was. I didn't know much about music, right? So I accepted that, and I kind of, leaned into that. I was like, yeah, you guys are right. You guys do, but over time, you learn and you see what fans are responding to. I'm at every show. I'm in some of the studio sessions. I'm seeing how people, like, which lyrics are quoted online. So, you know, hopefully people would value the experience I have. Even now, working with the comedians, like, I've seen Josh's content over the years develop. I see what people like about it. I see why it stands out more so than maybe another creator's content. So now that we're working with newer comedians that don't have the platform that Josh has, I would hope that they take some of the feedback that I have, because some of the stuff is just technical. It's just starting faster. It's just pacing. It's just the pace of your videos. Maybe the length of certain videos. The branding of certain videos. I would hope they take that feedback, because I've been working with John now for, I don't know, 7 years, but working with creators since 2008. Again, if you have to go down the street where I say you're going to get punched in the face, I can't rock with you.
Well, okay, so just to tie things up with Key Glock, it's not like he's in a room listening to the worst beats on the planet, picking the worst beats on the planet. He's in a room working with some pretty amazing producers, and he's just picking the beats that, I guess, go against the grain insofar as the culture of the room is concerned. He has 11 million monthly listeners on Spotify alone, so people like his music. He's not picking the trash. So I just think we're, like, getting into dangerous territory if people are looking at what he's saying and thinking, oh yeah, pick trash beats and just try really hard to make them hits. It's like Russ territory where they're like, oh, I just got to do what Russ does.
But again, I'm just looking at it purely from a management perspective. If that's working for him, that's amazing. I just would never want to be a part of that team, because I feel useless. I'm not adding any value here. So why? That's one of the reasons me and Futuristic stopped working together. Like, I felt like I'm not here to be a glorified assistant. No love lost. Like, we're still cool, but, like, I'm not here. Like, you don't see. I'm not adding any value to what you're doing outside of you asking me, telling me what to do, essentially. And that's not a role I want to play. So it's amazing you have 11 million monthly listeners. Maybe he can have 20. Who knows? But I'm not on the team, so it doesn't matter.
Well, you're saying because, I guess I'm not making the connection, because he's not picking beats that you would have thought
Well,
he
he's
should
not
hit.
taking anybody's. You're not taking anybody's opinion into consideration. A matter of fact, you're going against everybody's opinion purposefully.
So he's taking it into
as a
consideration, just in a
challenge.
weird way.
And I just wouldn't want to. I just wouldn't want to be in that environment. It sounds like he needs. If nobody in the room, if their opinion is not worth listening to, he needs a new room of people. That's what it sounds like.
That might be fair. I think perhaps. I think also he's dramatizing the story to make it a better story, but also, you know, it's to me it's interesting because here's a rapper that's challenging himself to not lean on the producer and see himself more as an equal contributor to the success of the song, which is refreshing. I think all the producers in the comments were like, I want to work with Key Glock after he said that, because they're sick of hearing producers say, I like this beat, but it's not a hit. And you're like, what? So you want me to make a beat? If I make a beat that's a hit, I'm releasing it on my own and keeping 100% of it. If I'm making a song that's a hit, then it's 50-50.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it, and because you're a producer, you're looking at it from a producer lens. I think that's super cool. But like very few beats, in my opinion, are like, oh, that's gonna be a hit. Like it's, the only thing that comes to mind to me is like, Tyga's Taste song maybe. I feel like a lot of people could have jumped on that and did something dope with it. That was catchy.
I feel like most DJ Mustard records, I'm like, yeah, anybody could make this soar.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say most of his hit records. I wouldn't say in general, but you hear a Mustard beat and it's like, even I, who do not rap, feel inspired to make a song because his beats are so compelling. But I see what you're saying. Even Turbo, I feel the same about Turbo because his music is so musical, or his beats are so musical. I feel like if you have any type of understanding of melody or flow, like it could be a hit because he's just making such incredible beats. But I'm with you, Dave. Like it's got to be a merging of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're a producer who can make those undeniable within 10 seconds, you just know beats all the time, which I don't think any producer can. But if you can increase that ratio, yeah, you're out of there.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's not everything.
Again, I like if and maybe he did just dramatize it a bit to make the clip more interesting, because if the approach is like, oh, this beat is interesting, I feel like I can turn this into something that nobody else would. Like, I'll create something from this that will make my stuff more unique. That's the thought process. That's an amazing thought process. But if the thought process is, oh, he didn't like it, so I'm gonna use that one. He thinks I should use that one, so I'm gonna use the other one. Then,
well, that's a better story, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Shout out to Key Glock though. I don't know if I have any of his music in my playlist. I don't think so. But he played.
Well, I think his song "Let's Go" is an example of that, because the sample's not even saying that, and he used his voice to kind of transform the sample into saying something. That's like his big hit, or one of his big hits.
I think I use that in my IG story, my workout IG stories from time, but I don't actually listen to it. Yeah, that's just the song that fits my workout check-ins on my IG stories sometimes.
Yeah, you're one of 11 million.
Yeah, so I do listen. I get not listen to it, but I use the music. So shout out Key Glock.